that they would be willing to send the nation into default for the first time in order to take more money from poor people is just difficult to grok, it seems to me.
Next thing we wanted to talk about is this, the defaulting on our debt for the United States. And Adam, you had some stuff you wanted to say about that, right?
Yeah, give me just a second here. Let me get that pulled up.
Yeah. I mean, as a preview to kind of open this up, there's a big debate in the United States House about the debt limit. And so there's this just this really bizarre thing that says, okay, even though, there are actually even questions as to its constitutionality, because even though Congress has required the government to expend this certain amount of money by passing appropriations laws, there is this second thing, that's the debt limit, that says, oh no, actually you can't do this. You can't go above, you can't borrow more than this amount of money.
Yeah, and the debt limit is not like enshrined in the Constitution or anything by, anything to that effect.
Right.
It could easily be done away with. They could have eliminated the debt limit already. They could still do so, obviously not with the makeup of the Congress right now, at least not likely to happen. But yeah, and so you've got the House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has a plan of austerity and is demanding significant cuts to social services and work requirements to social services in exchange, basically, for, basically they're holding the country hostage and saying you're going to pass this austerity or we're going to let the country default. So I did want to just highlight the AFL-CIO's statement on the matter, and they put this out just this week. And ahead of today's vote in the U.S. House on the Limit, Save, Grow Act of 2023 proposed by Republican leaders, the AFL-CIO, America's largest labor federation representing more than 12.5 million working people, strongly urged Congress to reject House Speaker Kevin McCarthy's plan to careen our nation into default, which would tank the economy and put millions of workers at risk. In a letter to Congress, the Federation calls out the bill for posing an imminent threat to the retirement security of hundreds of thousands of Americans, cutting life-supporting benefits and programs for veterans, seniors, children, and low-income families. This misguided legislation will also harm our economy by slashing vital federal investments in clean energy and new technologies that will expand domestic manufacturing and put millions of people to work. Here is an excerpt from that letter they sent to Congress. Quote, by clawing back unused COVID-19 relief funds, the McCarthy plan would slash funding for veterans' medical care, vaccines, personal protective equipment, and public transit agencies. It could also jeopardize the unspent funds in the multi-employer pension rescue plan, the Butch-Lewis Act that was included in the American Rescue Plan Act. Destroying the retirement income security of more than 1 million hardworking Americans is an outrageous and unacceptable price for a debt deal. The McCarthy plan also would dim hopes of transitioning into a cleaner energy economy and rebuilding our manufacturing base around clean energy jobs. The United States is in a position to become a dominant producer of high-tech goods, from wind turbines to solar to electric vehicles. Rescinding the Inflation Reduction Act's clean energy tax credits would cede the clean energy future to China and raise taxes on our businesses that are trying to remain globally competitive while combating climate change. The cuts in the McCarthy plan would fall disproportionately on the backs of federal workers and undermine the ability of government agencies to fulfill their mission to serve the American people. So, interesting statement there. AFL-CIO is certainly opposed to this plan by House Speaker Kevin McCarthy. I would imagine most of the unions are as well. I thought it was interesting that they made it a point to mention China in the letter. I think that's probably them trying to triangulate a little bit and speak to some of the congressmen on a level that they understand. Because if there's anything that Congress seems to like right now, it's bashing China.
Right.
So I imagine that was probably the thinking and throwing that little dig in there.
Yeah, weird stuff for sure.
So we'll see what happens. I
just have a hard time believing that the Republicans are going to be able to go through with this, because the idea that they would be willing to send the nation into default for the first time in order to take more money from poor people is just difficult to grok, it seems to me, because it would be obvious that, it would be their fault, right? And it's just difficult for me to buy that would go over well in the general public. But
it may not go over well, but that doesn't necessarily mean they won't do it.
Yeah.
And at this point, nothing would surprise me. So I haven't been following the blow by blow in DC very closely. I've been kind of waiting to see, as we get closer and how things are going to shake out. But yeah, I agree. I mean, it does seem hard to imagine that the Republicans would do that because, they're because they want to make people meet certain jump through hoops and meet work requirements to get health care or food stamps. But, again, it would not surprise me if they did go down that road. And who knows, there could be political calculations as well. Maybe they think, well, if we do it under a Democratic president, the Democratic president will get the blame.
Right.
It's, that's also, very cynical. But again, I assume that they are cynical in the way they operate.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.